Hi YouTube, a really obvious idea for a sculpt for me would be to do Pinhead from Hellraiser, and he is on my list and I do want to make him at some point, but I decided to make the Chatterer from Hellraiser instead. If you haven't seen this guy, he's got his lips pulled back with fish hooks, and so you can see like his teeth and his sort of like skull through his face, which is pretty cool. And I just bought this head from a car boot sale, so this cost me £2. I thought it would just be a really good place to start. So this is where I began by making a set of teeth using Milliput. If you haven't used Milliput before, it's a two-part putty. Mix the two parts together and it sets rock hard in about 4 hours. What's really good about this is once it has set, you can also sand it down or file it to refine it even more. So this is a very rough set of teeth, and you can see I've put them on some aluminium foil so they don't stick. That's a good tip, you can peel them off then really easily. You can see here I've got the bigger teeth, like the incisors and everything like that, and then the canines, and then you've got like some little molars at the back. And then I've also made some eye sockets. So I did this by just making a couple of balls of aluminium foil and then just putting a very thin layer of the Milliput over the ball just to shape it to give you that curve. The eyes do look on this thing like, you know, sunken in eye sockets. Very kind of zombie like, and there's nothing in the way of like a pupil or an iris or anything like that. You've just got like these kind of little flaps of eyelids, and that's about it. Next I decided I was going to cut the nose off, just to flatten that, and originally I thought I would make the teeth even further forward than this, but you'll see later I cut into this. I've also taken a piece of plywood and just drawn a rough kind of oval shape. This will give a suggestion of some shoulders later on. Next I wanted to get all of that hair covered up, so I decided just to use PVA glue and kitchen paper. The kitchen paper I've torn into all of these shapes that are kind of rounded, so there are no square edges anywhere. That makes quite a difference, otherwise you do end up with a lot of lines all over the place, which I don't want. So I just very quickly put glue on with a paintbrush over the hair to kind of stick it down. Then I put some kitchen paper over the glue, and then I put more PVA glue over the top of the kitchen paper. So it's basically just papier-mâché effect over the whole thing, and that gives me a better head shape. You can see I've drawn an extra oval on here because I thought the shoulders should be a little bit bigger. Then after the teeth had dried, I took some Milliput that was soft still, made a couple of kind of long sausages for the gums, and then I just pushed the teeth up into them. And then you can curve these as much as you want while the gums are still soft, and you know, you can add to it further and further as it dries. But you can see I made the curves and I've made those two sets of teeth, so they're ready to go. The eye sockets, this is how they turned out with the foil removed. You can see nice hollow shapes ready to go onto the head later. This is what the set of teeth ended up looking like with the curves after they'd hardened. So these again are ready to go now. You can see the eye sockets there as well have got the little eyelid folds on them. On the head I decided to cut a really big hollow shape out. This is where the mouth is going to go in here, and then you've got these kind of nice gaps where the cheeks are, and then I'll be able to add the lips on the top of this. Right, I ended up sanding down the teeth a little bit to kind of flatten them off at the bottoms, and that's quite nice. That's worked really quite well. And then what I've done is just stuck them in place into this gap, and then I've just used more Milliput to kind of add the folds around the cheeks and all of these little kind of ridges that are like stretching out from the gums up onto the rest of the head. And I'm really pleased with how this is looking at this stage, but obviously there's a long way to go. Right, then I ended up doing the lips, and you can see I've added like a little kind of ridge, a little gap everywhere where there's going to be like one of these fish hooks, and then quite a few smaller wrinkles into the lips as well. The eyes I've stuck on, and they look kind of strange at the moment because they look like they're protruding, and obviously they don't protrude, or they don't appear to protrude this much on the actual thing, but you'll see. Here you go. Once I bulk it out with some more aluminium foil, just rolled into kind of long sausage shapes really. You can see I've built it up a little bit around the jaw here, but also around those eye sockets, which kind of smooths them in. And then you can do the PVA glue with kitchen paper over the top to kind of hold it all together. So the main ridges I've put on, but there's a lot more to build up, right, to build up the very top of the head. On the base, I've just screwed into the bottom of the head, just with some really long screws right through here, look, right through the base, and that's nice and firm now, and then I can start building up on top of this as well. So here you can see the difference in head shape just by adding more on the top of the head and also adding a chin and curving in the neck. So all the neck was just lots and lots of aluminium foil all scrumpled up and smoothed in. There's more of these ridges as well, like next to the mouth, all going up, all with little gaps in between them where the wire's going to go. Yeah, the chin I've tried to kind of square it off a bit and try and make it more like the shape of the one in the movie. And then extra folds all over the place on the head, a few ridges going back from the eyes, and then a couple of larger bulges on the top of the head. So overall the head shape is looking much more like a chatterer now, but I need to keep working on it. There's a couple of ears I need to put on that are not, they don't really look like ears, they're just more like kind of bulges. The back of the head at the moment is pretty flat. I'm not as fussed about the back of the head, detail wise, because you're going to view it from the front, but I would like a bit of shape to the back of the head. Right, I've added quite a few more details here, so lots more ridges to the face, lots of finer ones which I'm doing with Milliput again. The Milliput's great because obviously you can sculpt into it, you can add lots of details and wrinkles and things into any folds that you do. I've also added more detail to the sort of neck area, lots of these kind of rib things that are sticking up like that. There's quite an interesting shape in there. And then I've just made this collar, which I just made out of a flat sheet of foam. I've put that on, kind of stuck it on, let it harden, and then I've gone over it again with the kitchen paper and PVA glue, because that makes it really quite strong. It won't go anywhere, it won't tear off or anything now. Right, this is with more finer ridges and folds and things in the centre of the face, and also underneath the eye sockets to kind of smooth those in with lots of kind of bumps and things. That's looking good. And I've also added the ears, which are, like I say, not really clear as ears. They're just a kind of a rough idea of the shape of ears. Just enough really to show that there's something there. It's almost like the ear is kind of like underneath the skin, kind of hiding. I quite like that effect, and it should look all good when it's all kind of painted up as well. Right, I was lucky enough to find a bowl of paint that was left over from me painting inside some of my cabinets, and it's this kind of greyish purple colour, and I really like this. I think I probably would have mixed a colour like this anyway, so I used this just to block over the whole thing. Obviously this is going to be the darker areas, so like inside all of the folds and everything will retain this colour. Then I painted the lips and inside the mouth, and it's hard to see on this video, but I've actually used like a really dark red colour, really deep red. So it's a mix of cadmium red, and I used a little bit of burnt umber as well, just to darken it. So I've added bits of that in the eye sockets, into the mouth and the lips, and then I just watered it down and added a little bit and let it kind of soak in around the mouth and around the eyes into some of the folds and things, and that adds quite a nice kind of gory effect, a little bit in between the ribs as well. Next I started brightening the lips, so this is just with cadmium red on its own, and then maybe a little bit of pink here and there as well, but mainly just cadmium red just to brighten it all. Makes the lips really start to stand out. At this point I was thinking it's okay, but the teeth don't obviously stand out enough. So next I painted the teeth in this kind of yellow ochre colour first, and then white over the top to brighten them up. And then I've painted all of the kind of outside ridges and things of the head all using white, just basically just white, and then it's a dry brush effect, so you're just dusting the white over the top of all the ridges. You can see all the wires I've put on as well. This was a really nice touch, and I literally just used aluminium wire, and I've bent all the wire into the shape of hooks and made them myself because they're really easy to make. The aluminium wire is so soft, it's really easy to form the shape of a hook, and then you can bring the wires down as well, so it looks like the hooks are kind of pulling the lips back. Really pleased with how this turned out, and I've just done little hints of other colours over the top, so a bit more kind of dry brushing, and then this very end stage here you're seeing was just some UV resin, which you put it on. It basically looks like clear glue. You put it on, it's really horrible stuff, it really stinks, I don't like it at all, and if you get any on your fingers it's really hard to get off, and it gives me a bit of a headache actually using it because it smells so much. But you put it on and it gives this really nice wet look to like mouth, and you know, if you're doing eyes or eyeballs, that kind of thing. You put it on, while it's still wet you shine a UV light onto it, and you have to hold it on for quite some time, like I think it's sort of 4 or 5 minutes to get it to kind of harden. You can put it out in the sun and the sunlight will harden it as well, but yeah, in the meantime it smells, so be warned, and it can give you this bit of a headache. I think some people have actually had problems where they've breathed it in so much in a confined space that actually they get medical conditions from it, so yeah, be really careful. You can see that I painted the collar black as well. That really adds contrast to the whole thing. So I was really pleased with how this turned out, and like I say, I will probably make Pinhead at some point as well. Thanks for watching this video. Check out my other videos if you get a chance, and hit subscribe to see anything that I post up in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.